If any of you are single gentlemen and you're trying to put yourself back out there, then today's topic should interest you. We're going to go over 7 things that women pay attention to when they first see and meet you. Now, some of these things are going to be physical attributes that you may or may not be in control over. The things you're not in control over, I'm going to give you some tips to show you how to overcome them. We'll talk about some market research and surveys solidifying the things on this list, but also from personal experience, because I wasn't always married, and by paying attention to the things on this list is how I was able to meet and end up with such a beautiful high-value woman. Because in today's day and age, it is really easy to stand out over other men, mainly because they're too lazy to pay attention to the things on this list, leaving you a higher chance of getting the attention of a woman that you're interested in. Now let's start with number 1. It's going to be your physique. When you walk into a room, one of the first things a woman's going to notice is your build, and it's no different for you. When a woman walks into a room with a banging body, or as my son likes to put it, a baddie with the fatty, it piques our interest. So it's no different for her. When a man walks into a room with a little bit more muscle than the next guy, it piques her interest as well. Now, this is one of the few physical attributes that you actually have control over. But what I found is there's a misconception of how much muscle we think a woman wants us to have. In the survey that I found, only 6% of women find that muscular bodybuilding build to be attractive. 43% prefer more of a muscular build, more like a football player. And then 51% of the women preferred an athletic build, something you might find in a soccer player or a boxer. And 0% of the women found the skinny look attractive. But that goes back to the primitive mind of them not believing that someone that's skinny could protect them and provide for them. Another thing that's become really popular is the dad bod. But in a separate survey, I found that only 3% of women found that attractive. There's also a misconception about leanness. Now, everyone does appreciate a nice set of abs, but what they found most attractive was just a flat stomach. And when they were shown pictures of different body fat percentages, what peaked out the most of them was somebody between 10 to 15% body fat, which I can tell you is not easy, but extremely attainable. That's just somebody going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week working on strength training, but then also doing 2 to 3 times a week of cardio, whether you mix it up with steady state cardio or high intensity cardio. But the goal here is consistency and giving yourself time to build out this physique. You do this consistently and you're not going to recognize your physique within 6 to 9 months. Now, number 2, let's talk about grooming. This is going to have a few different sections to it. Let's start with hair. Yes, hair. This was a choice. In fact, here's a picture of me in 2013, right before I decided to shave my head. Now, I wasn't bald, I was just thinning. And I was spending a lot of time and money on products and treatments to try to hold on to whatever was there and make it look fuller. Until ultimately, I just shaved it off. And I'm glad that I did, because in a survey that I found, 87% of women prefer a shaved head over thinning hair. They perceived it as more masculine and confident. So if you're finding that you're spending a lot of time and money and energy trying to make your hair look fuller, I promise you, gentlemen, 87% of the women say, just let it go. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a full head of hair, you need to make sure it's groomed, conditioned, styled. If you're not following him already, I highly recommend you follow Alex Costa. He has a great head of hair and some great products that'll help you keep up with that. Because in that survey, there was no in between. They either preferred a shaved head or a full head of hair. So if you're thinning, just shave it off. Now, number 2, your eyebrows. There should be 2 of them. You don't want to walk around looking like Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street. And as we age, we're gonna have some hair growing out in some really curious places. So the hair in your nose should not touch your mustache. The hair in your ears, you should not be able to braid them. If you guys have facial hair, make sure that that's trimmed, groomed, and conditioned. And remember, the hair on your face is much different than the hair on your head. So buy products that align with that. Now, the last one that's really overlooked are your hands. Now, a woman does like a nice, strong hand. In fact, calluses they find attractive. The issue is when you have dirt and grime underneath your nails. You don't have to go to a salon to do this. In fact, I take care of my nails at home using this kit right here. I'll link it below. Now, keeping up with your grooming and your hygiene is just another way to get her attention. Now, moving on to number 3, it's going to be your smile. In a recent survey, it showed that up to 75% of women factor in a nice smile when deciding if someone's attractive. So I highly recommend you also keep up with your oral hygiene. Brush at least 3 times a day, floss after every meal. I highly recommend that you guys invest in a water pick. I've been using this one for the last 3 years. It just gets into areas that flossing and brushing won't get into. I also recommend getting your teeth professionally cleaned 1 to 2 a year. And while you're with your hygienist, ask about an effective but safe teeth whitener, because you don't want to get anything online that's just going to damage your enamel. Doing all these tips for your oral hygiene is not only going to make sure you have a nice smile, but make sure you have nice breath, because the last thing you want to do is go in for a kiss and she smells a dragon breath. It's going to ruin the date. Now, number 4, this one's going to cause a little bit of controversy and ruffle some feathers. The 4th thing she's going to pay attention to is going to be your height. Sad, but true. In fact, if you watch some of the dating shows like Pop the Balloon.
I'm Shahira, I'm 35. I popped my balloon because I think you're just a little too short. Like, I don't mind dating somebody who's a little shorter.
The revolution.
But I haven't had that many good experiences with short guys.
Unfortunately, it's one of the first things that women pop someone's balloon over is their height, and we don't have control over it. But there's some misconceptions with this one as well. I found that women find men 6'3" and over to be just a tad too tall. The sweet spot seemed to be about 5'11", and they found men at 5'4" a little bit too short. But the other thing that I found is what they're really looking for is someone that's at least 6 inches taller than them. So for my gentlemen, 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", you're not too far from what they're looking for. But if you're 5'4" and below, the next two categories I'm gonna go over are gonna help you overcome that. Which leads me right into number 5. She's gonna pay attention to your confidence and your posture. I can't tell you how many friends and acquaintances that I have that are on the shorter side that end up with some beautiful women. But it's because they're so confident, the way they carry themselves. Their shoulders are rolled back, they're making eye contact, they're asking good questions, they're being engaged in that conversation. And over time, that woman just forgets that she's talking to a shorter guy. But this confidence and this posture isn't just when you're talking to her. She's gonna pay attention to how you carry yourself with other people. In fact, a story to that, the day that I met my wife, I was going to a coffee shop that I went to very frequently. And that specific day, it was really packed, and there was only 2 seats available. The one right by the entrance that I walked into, or an available seat right next to her. Well, since my mother didn't raise no fool, I sat next to the pretty girl. Because what's wrong with sitting next to a pretty girl on a Sunday? I wasn't gonna interrupt her or bother her, but just wanted to sit next to her. And according to her, she didn't even notice me walking in. But what caught her attention was how I was interacting with the waitstaff. I was being friendly, I was joking with them, engaging, a lot of back and forth, and it caught her attention. Later, she tells a story that confidence and the way that I was interacting with them is what made her talk to me. We have an argument going back and forth of who hit on who first. She says I hit on her by sitting next to her. And I say, well, that's all it took.
But the point is.
But I digress. The point is, she wasn't paying attention to my height. In fact, she didn't even notice that I was 5'11" until I got up and walked away. She noticed my build, she liked the way I was dressed, but none of that was the first thing she noticed. What she noticed first is how I was engaging and my confidence and how I was treating other people. Now, number 6 is gonna help my shorter men, but everyone else too. In a survey that I found, over 85% of women found a man with style to be more attractive. So if you wanna make yourself stand out, find a timeless classic style, something that you feel comfortable in and confident in. Because if you're just jumping from wearing sneakers and jeans and t-shirts to suit and ties, you're gonna feel uncomfortable and it's gonna be really hard to exude confidence. As far as for my shorter gentlemen, if you wanna make yourself look taller, wear darker colors. Avoid wearing shorts that pass your knee. Your shorts should stop 1 to 2 inches above your knee. For your pants, your trousers, your jeans, you should be at mid to high waist. You want to follow the rule of thirds, which means your pants take up 2/3 of your outfit, making you look taller. This actually works for everybody, but works even more so for my shorter gentlemen. Whether you're going on a first date or just a casual outing, pay attention to what you throw on because she's paying attention too. Now, number 7 is going to be the icing on the cake, and it's going to be your scent. Try to find a signature scent that meshes well with your pH. Also, make sure you're paying attention to the season. If we're in the summer, don't put on a heavy cloying fragrance. If we're in the winter, don't reach for a blue freshie. But what's also really important is how much you spray. Don't overspray. Your scent should be discovered, not announced. So just one on each side, maybe one in the back. That way, as she gets closer, she picks up the scent, not from across the room. Now, I can go on and on about fragrances, but if you guys want some tips, here's a video that I just dropped on the best summer fragrances for 2026. There you go, guys. 7 things that she pays attention to. And if you pay attention to them too, you might end up with the girl of your dreams. Thanks again for watching. And as always, I appreciate your support. See you in the next one.